Hey, what's going on, everyone? Derek Blackman here. Welcome back to Blacking Off. I don't even know which episode number this is because I've been recording them sporadically, which I apologize for that. This is supposed to be weekly, but just a lot of weird stuff has been happening with me. My body has not been agreeing with me recently. It started off like maybe a couple of weeks ago where I thought I had appendicitis. I even talked to a friend that had appendicitis, and then he was telling me, I asked him, I was like, hey, what are your symptoms? He told me, and I told him I'm having the same symptoms, and he said, don't mess around, go to the hospital immediately, because if your appendix bursts, you could be screwed. But it wasn't that. Doctors speculated it could be something with your gallbladder. He said, but a lot of times when you have a lower abdominal pain, or just abdominal pain in general, a lot of times it just goes away undiagnosed. Like they can't figure out what is going on, and then it goes away. 40% of the time, he said. And that's essentially what I was chalking it up to. But then, fast forward, my foot starts swelling up. And I'm like, what is this? This is totally unconventional because I've never had a problem with this before. So I'm like, is it diabetes? Do I have a blood clot? Is that? You're seeing all these different issues that sprung up. And I don't know what it is, but it could just be maybe such a big difference where going to the gym all the time and working out really hard and, putting a lot of miles in and just all that stuff. And then kind of doing very light, like little to nothing since the pandemic. Maybe it had to do with that. I thought maybe because I've been eating a lot of crackers. I bought like snacks so I don't have to go out as much. And so I was thinking, I don't know, maybe is that too much sodium and water in my diet? I don't know. It's been hot, so I've been drinking a lot. But then on top of that, and one of the reasons, well, actually the reason why I'm wearing these sunglasses for the video, if you're watching, like the video listeners, I'm wearing sunglasses right now. And I'm wearing that because I had another episode with my mitral valve prolapse. I've had it, I was diagnosed back in 2016 with mitral valve prolapse. My mitral valve is a little bit bad. It sometimes would freak out and pump blood in the wrong direction. And that would cause my body to freak out. You basically feel like you're having a heart attack. You panic. You essentially have a panic attack. And I remember a lot of people thinking it's like, oh, it's definitely, you need, you're just in a bad spot, man. It's all mental. And I was like, dude, I'm fine. Even though I was I was kind of not in a great place, but I was like, I've been in worse situations. I'm fine mentally. This has to be physical. And finally, it was like, yeah, I got a echocardiogram and did a stress echo and the EKGs. And the thing is, which really tripped me out, I've got multiple EKGs, and finally a doctor, like probably after the fifth one of them's like, I think something's irregular. I'm going to send you to a cardiologist. Anyway, long story short, with my medication that I take, a beta blocker, which, yeah, all alpha here. Yeah, it's almost like I don't have it. But then maybe once or twice a year, it's like the medication doesn't work, and all of a sudden I start panicking, the anxiety's all heightened. And one of the side effects is when that shit happens, like light becomes extra sensitive to me. And I remember in 2016 wearing sunglasses all the fucking time, sometimes even inside the house where even just a lamp was on. So, but that was when I didn't have any medication at all. Right now, it'd be better to do this so I don't really upset my eyes and then get a headache and shit because I'm about to record a podcast and talk for a long amount of time, and it would be pretty bad if my head was hurting. But that's pretty much what's been going on with me. But I'm good now. I think everything's settled down. Just the little after effects, and who knows, maybe I'll start wearing these sunglasses from now on because I wear them on one of my second channels, and I enjoy wearing them on there. But anyway, we got a lot of things we can cover. A lot of stuff has been happening, and even myself has been in a teeny bit of drama, but not really. I'm gonna explain right now. All right, I never understood the concept of people acting tough on the internet.
Yeah,
I never really understood that.
Me either.
I never fully got it because I was under the impression that you couldn't do it. You couldn't be a tough guy, and there was no cowards. You're just talking. There's no face-to-face shit.
No, it's weird because it also coming from a background where I was in the Army with Special Forces guys and met them, and guys like friggin' Vega, and you're talking tough. Give me a fucking break. You have no idea what it is. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you would know that I'm
we're mostly drama free. Like, and what I mean by drama, obviously we're talking about a lot of stuff, controversial things that prop up and whatnot. But as far as me like beefing with other YouTubers and whatnot, that doesn't happen very often. At the height of everything that was happening, there was people like Tariq Nasheed and, you know, Anita Sarkeesian, people like Francesca Ramsey. You know, there's people like that. There was obviously, they turned into like the internet's punching bag. And sometimes they would take personal shots, and then sometimes you would fire back. Simple as that. Even now, sometimes every once in a while, I would get in some little Twitter spats with Paul Joseph Watson, because a lot of his hot takes are reminiscent of like someone who follows Sharia law. Like, really doesn't seem to like anything that is, you know, represents freedom and modern westernization, stuff like that. So sometimes you would just take shots at him, sometimes he would fire back, and it's fine. But someone that I haven't really thought about in a long time is the Twitch streamer Destiny, and I'm sure most of you know who Destiny is. He does debates online, and I really haven't thought about him, and I haven't thought about any of those people. I haven't really thought about Anita Sarkeesian. I haven't thought about any of those people that used to like be somewhat controversial, that would be kind of like on the progressive ideological side. It's just like a lot of that stuff kind of cooled down. Now, sure, some of it's ramping up because of the elections and everything, but this is totally different. So let me start from the beginning. It was last Saturday, I got a notification from a YouTuber that they're going to be streaming, like, oh, we're going to watch a debate. And the debate was between a YouTuber named Bo Blacks and then Destiny. And it wasn't the people that were debating that interest me. It was the subject that they were talking about. And they were talking about a Twitch streamer named Invader V. And she recently came under fire because she said some really egregious stuff, where she was being just really terrible in the worst time imaginable in this pandemic, when millions of people are losing their jobs. Millions of people have been laid off or furloughed. You know, hopefully they'll get their job back after this stuff blows over. But she was essentially saying, most of you that are watching me on Twitch can afford a $5 sub. And depending on where you are in this world, maybe that'll translate to $10. But most of you can afford that. And if you can't, you've made poor life decisions, or you need to be better with your money. Basically, essentially, you're an idiot.
A sub is $5. At maximum, in whatever your currency is, it's maybe $10. And it doesn't matter how broke you are. If you have time to watch Twitch, you have $10, truly. If you don't have $10, you probably don't have time to watch Twitch, because you should be working, you should be trying to earn money. It's not a ton, it's not like a ton of money. So being like, I'm broke, I can't afford to sub, that doesn't really track. What you mean to say is, I'm so irresponsible with my money, I can't support the entertainment that I enjoy. I'm unemployed, so basically all my money goes to bills and food, or I would support you. Yeah. It's $5. It's really, like, no one's gonna convince me that what I'm saying is so rude or so unacceptable or so outrageous. It just simply isn't. It's $5. It doesn't cost you that much to sub.
Bitch, are you for real?
She also said there are exceptions to the rule, but it's kind of stupid. Like, why are you trying to save face when you already said that stuff? You know, I equivalent it to that when people say something really horrible like, I think everyone should die. And then people are like, wow, like, why would you say something like that? And it's kind of like, well, I don't mean everyone. I'm sure there's some good people, but I think most people should die, though. You know what I mean? Where it doesn't really save face, because you already kind of put that bad energy out there. And so I was like, what are they going to debate about in this subject? Because this chick was clearly just, that was a horrible take. And she even apologized about how tone deaf and stupid it was and how wrong it was to say that. And here's the other deal. I think why I was so interested as well, because there is the singular point of that most people can afford that. That is correct. I'm assuming that most people do have an extra $5 laying around. But that's not what I think what the stream was supposed to be about. And the people that wanted to watch, and even Bo Black's a YouTuber that was going to debate him, I don't think they were trying to debate that point. I think it was whether it was really, was it a bad take? Because it seemed like Destiny was defending that take. Like her entire take and her tone and everything that she was going about it. But then stripping it down, I think Destiny had one idea of what exactly they were going to focus on, and everybody else had a different idea. So essentially, I'm bringing that up because a lot of people thought Bo Blacks won, which was insane to a lot of people because Bo Blacks is just a young, literally autistic, just dweeb, right? And his content is just compiling tweets together and then reading them. You know, like say how I do the Twitter Trash series where I find stupid tweets, I poke fun, make jokes, we have fun. His thing is to just read out the drama. So it's very similar to what I do, but there's no spin on what he does. So it was kind of like, how is this guy going to stand any chance with Destiny at all? And I think because of what I said previously, because of somewhat of the miscalculation on what exactly what the points are going to be debating, a lot of people thought Destiny won, and a lot of people thought Bo Blacks won, and I was even in the position like, well, how did Destiny think he was going to win? Because thinking like everybody else, they're talking about what she said was wrong, bad timing, bad take. There was nothing about what she said that was like, oh yeah, I can see where you're coming from. So I think that was where the mix-up was. So after Destiny and Bo Blacks finished, I was hanging out in the chat of that one original streamer that was watching the stream with all these other YouTubers, and everybody was laughing. And then Destiny came into that stream. I guess he was mad, and I'm assuming he didn't really like how the debate went overall. So I think he kind of wanted to clarify, and he wanted to get in on the talking shit. So then they all started talking shit to each other, and I thought it was hilarious. I was in the chat, and right before Destiny left that stream, he talked shit to the Quartering and myself. And it was really strange. I don't know what his beef is with the Quartering, but with me, it was really fucking weird because he said something along the lines, because I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something along the lines of like, "Oh, you're a pussy" or something, and you've been dodging me or something. He said something along the lines of that. I could run back the footage, but I know that's essentially what he said, so I don't really need to say exactly. It doesn't matter that I'm fucking paraphrasing. So that was really strange to me. And I jumped into that stream minutes after he said that, but he was already gone, which was really fucking like kind of a bitch move to just kind of talk your shit and then leave immediately. But it wasn't that really bothered me. It was the fact that I was like, what are you talking about dodging you, bro? I mentioned on that stream, I jumped on the stream, and I mentioned in a super chat as well. I was like, that guy has never once tried to DM me. Destiny has never tried to DM me, never tried to reach out to me and say, hey, debate me, bro, or whatever. Like, that's never came up before. Around the time, years ago, when he was kind of on people's minds, I probably would have considered it. Depending on the topic, I would have been like, yeah, sure, let's talk about it. But he's never reached out to me. I don't know if he's talked shit on his stream or whatever to his audience and trying to puff out his chest and fake flex like he did just a few days ago. To me, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean shit. Like imagine this. Imagine you're in high school and you have your group of friends, right? Imagine you're in your group of friends and you're just talking shit about somebody. And you're like, yeah, you know, this person's a pussy. They won't step up to me. They're a coward. And then that person is just right over there, like 20 feet away in their group. When it's like, well, I mean, go hit him up. He's right there. Like, why are you talking to me about this shit? And then just being like, oh, no, he's just a pussy. Like, just ignoring that whole situation. Just ignoring it. But, you know, trying to come off as like gaudy and flex to your friends, even though you didn't do shit. It kind of reminded me of some kind of weird type of high school thing to do, where an adult, you know, you have an issue, you have a quarrel, whatever it is, you approach the person, you come to them like an adult, and then you lay out your grievances, and then you see how it goes from there. And typically when you go about that way, a lot of people take it in two ways. They'll either get extremely defensive or they'll engage. But the thing is, he's never done that. You know, I explained on that stream that I hopped on that I've had my DMs open since I became full-time on YouTube, where I'm like, there's no reason not to have them open. You don't have to read them. They're filtered in a different section, in the request section. Somebody wants to send you a message. You have to go there to actually approve them or not. When you go to your DMs, you don't see them initially. So, yeah, they're open. Why not? And I'm glad that they're open because I've gotten some fan art. There's the dude making me his Vihander right now. He actually finished it. If I didn't have my DMs open, I would have missed that. Because if you would have tried to get a hold of me in Twitter notifications, try to at me, that shit is flowing all the time. Like, if you've seen my Twitter before, it's tens of thousands of people are following, and sometimes you send out a tweet, you know, and it does really well, has thousands of impressions. It's easy to miss notifications. Very easy. So my point is, this dude never reached out to me. And he said that like I'm dodging him or something like that. And to me, that's just the fakest bullshit ever. Like, I don't respect that at all because it's like some weird thing you can do on the internet. It's like I think it's like something that somebody would do that never had respect in real life. People didn't like say admire or adore. Now that he has this newfound, like, he has this audience that he's been, you know, he's had this audience that he made for years, right? He has a lot of people that follow him and a lot of people that like him. And so now he can take advantage of them and he can flex on people and say things that frankly aren't true and then get away with it. Like I did see one notification, one did show up where somebody was like, debate him, pussy. And I'm like, this dude, did he ask me? Did he ask me? I was like confused. Like, where's the invitation? And then I just ignored it or I turned it down or something. Where is it? It's non-existent, man. Like, it's not there. So that's why, like, that shit annoyed me. Because I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you can talk. Like, I don't care if you talk shit. There's plenty of YouTubers that'll talk shit. I don't care about that. It's when you start, like, saying fake bullshit. You know, there's a few people that have lied on me before. And what I typically don't do is I usually don't make a dedicated video or come out and stuff because I'm not really about that life. Not really. I just be like, okay, I don't respect you. Simple as that. So if we were to, say, come across each other's path in real life, I wouldn't give you the time of day. Like, if you were trying to approach me and talk to me, I would turn my back to you. You wouldn't even matter to me anymore. So fast forward, like, say now, if Destiny did come to my DMs and we're like, all right, then let's do it. I'm like, no. You fucking could have done that at any point in time. And now that I mentioned that you've never done it, now you're going to do it? Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, I don't fucking do that shit. I really don't. Like, I operate how I try to operate the same way on the internet, the way that I do in real life. Sure, there's more banter on the internet. There's more fun. There's more memes. But as far as when I'm talking to people, I generally treat them the same way that I do in real life. And I know most of the internet doesn't do that. People do the avatar thing. They talk just a ton of shit. They say the worst shit that they would never say to somebody's face. And to me, I'm like, I don't know. I just didn't grow up that way. It just doesn't do anything for me. I don't want to say anything that I can't back up in real life. It's as simple as that. And I feel like that's the difference between me and people like him and so many other people. It's not specific to Destiny. It's just a certain internet culture that I just don't partake in. So essentially, that's all that happened. There was nothing big, but some people were asking about it. And I was going to just defer to the stream, like, go check the stream. But it was a long stream. And so, and I just don't care enough to timestamp it or anything. It would just be much easier. I'm like, hey, I'll just put it in the podcast. I have a lot of things I can talk about in the podcast, but why not talk about something that has to do with me? And it is semi-interesting. The subject of Invader V and what she did was interesting, and where people, not even what you would call e-begging, what you call almost e-demanding, where it's like, I almost demand you should donate to me. It's an interesting subject because I think it's ridiculous to ever put that pressure on somebody. It's always fine to promote your stuff. I think it's even fine to make that case somewhat. It's kind of like, say, on Patreon. So you can join my Patreon for $1 or $2, and then you can make the case that, hey guys, $1 a month is $12 a year, or $2 a month is $24 a year. That ain't shit. Over the span of 12 months, you can make that argument and try to convince people like, oh yeah, you know, I will because I won't even notice that. That's a good way to go about it. Not say, you have $5 a month, bro. Like, you have it. Like, what is wrong with you if you don't have it? So I think that was the whole confusion, where people were mad about the way she went about it, and just the bad timing of doing it during a pandemic where a lot of people have lost their jobs and they don't know what the fuck they're gonna do. So very tone deaf, as she said herself. And so I think there was that whole mixture. And then since I was hanging out in that live stream, listening and watching debate and laughing with all these other people, when he jumped on that stream itself that I was hanging out, then he saw my name. He saw the Cording's name, obviously, too. I didn't even see his name in the chat. Then he just decided to take those shots. And okay, man. Like, I would have nothing to say if this dude actually reached out to me and proposed something, like directly try to contact me, Twitter, Instagram, email, anything, and I just ignored him, or I just said no thanks or something, then I'd be like, okay, whatever. So I mean, it's just simple as that. Not much beef, or there's nothing really, there's no reason to drag this out. I'm not going to talk about this anymore. I just thought that this would be decent content, and if anybody was wondering, I will tell them to defer to the first segment of this episode, and then you will know what's going on, and then this is it. Just is this it right there. And I guess the last thing I do want to mention, as far as like the way that people, because it's always the funniest thing to me when people say they call people cowards for not debating. That's another thing that I don't really operate in as well. And I know I've talked about this before. I've talked about this before on a stream called Shot from the Point with Tommy C, where I don't just understand the internet tough guy thing. And I don't understand how you can be scared or you can be tough on the internet. It just doesn't elicit any type of emotion in me when that shit is brought up. So when somebody says you're a coward or you're a pussy, I'm just kind of like, it doesn't even like sting, because my brain interprets it as words that are just on the screen. So, and one thing that I brought up about that is about being cowardly or being scared. And I use this as an example, like genuine fear. I have a great example of when I experienced genuine fear. It's when I was in Arizona and I had a gun pulled on me. You know, not knowing if I was going to live or die. You know, I could get shot. Someone pulled out a gun and could have used it if I said the wrong thing. So that was when I was genuinely scared. I'm like, oh shit, like that's not cool. Like I'm too far away. I can't even try to, like, you know, I was just at a complete disadvantage. So that was genuine fear. This internet banter, people talking shit online, that's not scary. It never will be to me. Now look, I understand to a lot of people it is. There's a lot of people that grew up in this environment, like just most of their life is just on the internet. You know, I grew up mostly in high school and all that stuff, all dial-up. You weren't on it that much because it wasn't that fucking fast. Like, I'm 32 years old, all right? So I think that I just hung out with my friends, jammed in bands, played football, and there was a time where one guy was spreading rumors about me on the football team because he heard some misinformation. And then he wanted to fight me. And then some other guys were thinking about fighting me. And I was like, damn, that's like some scary shit. I don't really want to get jumped, but I'm not a pussy. So I went to school and then I confronted and then we squashed the beef. Like, that's how we handle shit. And this weird, like, oh, you're a coward or you're dodging me and all this shit. That just doesn't work it just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't. It's hard for me to even understand where you're coming from, but I understand that is a thing that exists, and some people actually do genuinely feel fear and anxiety, and they're like nervous, and they're probably shaking and stuff like, oh my God, I'm talking to this person. I can't believe this is happening. I'm gonna get smoked. I'm gonna be a laughingstock. I'm like, bro, like Tyler the Creator says, bro, it's just cyberbullying. Just get the fuck off the goddamn internet. If you're being laughed to death, if you're a laughing stock, turn off the computer for a while. Guess what? A month pass, whatever it is, people are going to completely forget about you because shit happens all the time. You know, for example, when Caterino and her whole 7, 8 boyfriends, all that stuff that went down, no one's talking about that shit anymore. That just happened. No one's talking about it at all. You had Kim Jong-un, news about that guy, Jeff Goldblum. I mean, just all these things are sprung up and people are focusing on other things. So what I say is, it's the internet, guys. Relax.
The Ambassador Award honors an individual who has helped the game industry advance to a better place. Anita Sarkeesian's work has done just that.
Naughty Dog just can't catch a break, man. If you guys don't know what Naughty Dog is, they are a video game development company. You know, they weren't like, say, one of the most notorious ones, but they have had some bangers in the past, back in the day, and then, say, the most recent ones being The Last of Us and things like Uncharted, stuff like that. And they make some pretty good stuff. But people were kind of afraid of the direction that they were going in because of one particular gentleman that is involved. Neil Druckmann is the vice president of Naughty Dog, and he's what you would call a progressive ideologue. He was working with Anita Sarkeesian a while back, and it's one of those things that's bad for business. It's bad for business for a ton of different reasons, because people like Anita Sarkeesian, she's a grifter. She's lied about being into video games her whole life, when there's footage of her saying that she only barely started playing video games late in her life, you know, when I think it was for a specific project or something, even saying something along the lines of, I would love to play video games, but they're gross, like ripping people's heads off and stuff like that. It's like, not for me. I'm paraphrasing, but it was essentially something like that. Yet she does like a TEDx and says, I've been playing video games my entire life and all. You know, she just puts on this show and this grift. And a lot of people believe her because they want to do the whole believe women angle, which is kind of unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate that people don't call that shit out. Where there's people that are obviously lying, and then because of what is between their legs, they must protect them. It's what happened. It's what started all of this BS, like Gamergate. It was all that. There was clearly wrongdoing by Zoe Quinn, but they protected her. They all banded together and then started conspiracies, and all of that shit happened. We all know what happened. Things when even Zoe Quinn came back and accused her ex-boyfriend, Alec Holoka, indie dev, of sexual assault when she was lying. There was evidence on her Twitter herself, and other people came out. And she lied, and the dude ended up killing himself. And instead of blacklisting her for being a terrible person, they protected her. And she got a job with, I can't remember if it was Marvel or DC as well. So that's the kind of shit that we're dealing with when it comes to the not progressives in general, because I know a lot of good fucking progressives. I live in California. It's the ideologues, man. When people become zealots, they are so unreasonable. And there's zealots on any side of the spectrum, but right now we're specifically talking about the progressives and Silicon Valley. So that was already kind of a red flag for people with Naughty Dog, that Neil Druckmann was getting involved with Anita Sarkeesian. Like, oh shit, what's going to happen? And so a lot of people were also getting annoyed by when they started showing things of The Last of Us Part 2. I was not one of those people, because some people were like, oh, the lesbians of us. Why is Ellie and it's all surrounded by her and this girl, you know, and they're going to completely write Joel out of the story, because Joel was really the main character and the best character in The Last of Us. The Last of Us was definitely a fun game, definitely a good story, good writing. The gameplay was pretty good. I think a little overhyped. I think people were way too in on it. I don't know. It wasn't groundbreaking or anything. It's like, oh, survival horror kind of thing with these weird zombie type of things. A little stealthy. Yeah, okay. It was really the story was the driving point. Good story. And Joel is a really good character. Ellie, she's all right. She's all right, man. I usually just, when it comes to gameplay, when I'm somebody who really kicks ass, I don't like switching to other characters that are not as good. That shit annoys me. And that's what happened when you had to be Ellie for some missions where I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like the one thing that always comes to my mind is a game for PS2 called Shadow of Rome, and you play as this dude named Agrippa. It's basically the story of Gladiator, the movie, the Ridley Scott film. You play as Agrippa, which is so fun, but then you have to be this, like, I think his name is like Octavianus or something. This little blonde bitch, this stupid kid, like this little dumbass boy. And you just have to do this Metal Gear Solid stuff, but you don't have all the cool shit that Snake has. You know what I mean? So it's just like, oh god, I was cutting people in half in the arena, and now I have to be this guy. And that's kind of how I kind of felt about Ellie. And it has nothing to do with gender or anything like that, because I think one of the most underrated series in recent years is the latest Tomb Raiders. The Tomb Raider trilogy is fucking good. It's really fun. And I would be just as mad if I had to not be Laura and be somebody else that's like I really have to fucking do this, you know? And so it's like that. It's just like that. Anyway, the reason why I'm bringing this stuff up is because Naughty Dog, like I said, they can't catch a break. Not only were they had to deal with the delay of The Last of Us Part 2, there was rumblings of people being very disgruntled within the company. And what it usually comes down to, and this is not exclusive to Naughty Dog. This is a lot of video game companies. It's called crunch time. When they're getting very close to launch, they do crunch time, and they are pushed to the brink of insanity. They get to the point where there's good stuff you can read about a lot of companies, especially with BioWare, a lot of different companies. You can see how unfairly people are treated and people aren't getting paid enough, whatever it is. It's a lot of different things. And so with crunch time happening, you got disgruntled employees, and one disgruntled employee, and this is what allegedly has happened. This employee leaked the plot of The Last of Us Part 2, which was a huge, like, that usually doesn't happen. I think that's what happened with Mass Effect 3. There were spoilers on Reddit, and because of that, but it was early enough to where they could change the ending. I think that's what they did. And this time around, the game's already done, and they're like, oh shit. And so now they had to push it up. So the game's coming out in a couple of months. But here's why people are mad, and this is why people are like kind of freaking out, because there's a lot of people, I guess, that were invested in The Last of Us, and they're seeing the plot and they're like, oh my god, is this really what's happening? I can't believe this is what's gonna happen. This is gonna ruin it. I'm not gonna play this game anymore. And people have their different reasons, but I can say, looking at the spoilers, if they are true, I would agree. And so now I want to talk about these spoilers. So I would say skip ahead like 5 minutes if you are heavily invested in the Last of Us franchise and you don't want to know what apparently is going to happen. Because I'm not going to talk about it extensively, but I am going to talk about it for a few minutes. So let's just say, you know what, let's just say skip ahead just a few minutes, and I'll timestamp when you should be done. So from what it looks like, Joel, the main character from the first one, is going to be killed. He's going to be beaten to death by one of the main antagonists / protagonists. Is getting revenge because Joel killed her dad. He was one of the doctors that was gonna do experiments. Ellie, the other main character in The Last of Us, had like the antibodies for the viral infection or whatever, and they were going to dissect her or kill her or whatever, essentially for the good of everybody. And Joel selflessly was like, fuck that shit, you know, takes her, and he kills the doctors. And I guess that one of the girls is that was her dad, and she wants revenge. She finds out it's Joel, beats him to death. That's what they're saying happens. And so that's already extremely disappointing, but that's not that disappointing. The disappointing thing is that essentially Ellie then wants revenge, and what happens is there's some other beef that happens. I'm not going to get too far and deep into it, but you actually start playing as the girl that beats Joel to death, and now you're hunting down Ellie. So they're saying the first half you're playing as like Ellie or whatever. You get to this one part, and then you meet up with Joel, and then Joel gets beat to death. And then it switches over to where you become the girl that beat Joel to death, and now you're hunting down Ellie. And they also say that you end up killing Ellie. I don't know. It's all speculation and stuff, but a lot of people are saying things are definitely confirmed All I know is if that's true, if I have to be the person that beat Joel to death, it's like, no. No, not in any way, shape, or form would I ever want to do that. That's crazy. No, that is insane to me. That is so insane. I can't imagine. You know, there's a lot of characters that die in video games and they mean a lot to you. You're like, damn, I can't believe that happened. That was crazy. And then imagine controlling and being the person now that killed that person that you loved. You would be so bitter. Like, I don't want to play this game anymore. So if that's the case, that is so disappointing. But some other people are mad for some other reasons too, because like I brought up the whole lesbians of us thing, the whole angle with Ellie and her partner, and then this other person that is supposed to kill Joel, or that's gonna kill Joel. She looks kind of egregious, and a lot of people have been getting angry at why they keep making women in video games unattractive. Now, it doesn't necessarily bother me, because who cares? Like, if they're cool, they're cool. But it bothers me when it's purposefully done. And so that's kind of the thing that you can tell that it's a strategic thing. It's more with their mixed in with their ideals, and that's when it's like eyes starting to roll. Your idea wasn't to make this character from the get-go, but now it's like you are heavily into your ideals, and you're like, I want to make someone so unconventional and so like not attractive, even though, you know, women's beauty is celebrated by like everybody. Women appreciate women's beauty, whether they're straight or gay. Same thing with men. Everyone appreciates a woman, right? And so it's usually good for business to make attractive women in your games. Why not? Makes sense to me. I think everybody fucking wins. You know, the only people that don't like that stuff they're not the ones consuming that shit. And the thing is, they're not going to consume it once you change it. They were never interested in the beginning. So that's why people get upset. So I understand that. Like, sometimes people overstep, though. Sometimes people do have original ideas, and then they just, like, somebody's like, oh, I can't believe you did that. It's just SJW nonsense. And I'm like, well, it's SJW nonsense from the get-go, and you're not going to consume it. Why are you complaining about it? And that's how I am. It's kind of like, remember when Batwoman started to show CW's Batwoman. They started to show stuff like that, and people were like, oh my god, I can't believe this is so cringe. And I'm like, have you ever watched a CW show before? It's all cringe. What are you complaining about? It's been cringe from the beginning. You don't watch that shit. It's not for you. Like, why are you mad? Like, so that, like, those people overstep, right? The people that are mad at stuff that they were never going to consume in the first place. And that's how I feel about the people that are in the video game industry now. A lot of them started to interject their ideals or started listening to people that were complaining about stuff. And I say they should always flip the question on these people. Were you going to play this? Is it one of those things where, like, well, I was going to play it until so-and-so, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense either, because if it was a certain way from the get-go, that means you were never interested from the get-go. So why don't you move on to something else that would interest you? Like, imagine myself. I personally have no interest in Fortnite or Animal Crossing or something like that. And imagine me coming out and bitching to developers that you need to make this shit more inclusive, because I want to play it. I want it to be good for me. No, they would spit in my face, essentially, which they should. And be like, nah, that's, we got a dedicated fan base that really like this stuff. They like the direction it's going. I think we're fine. Like, that's it. That's how things should be handled. And it looks like that, I mean, we've seen a lot of examples of people just sliding their ideals into things, kind of like Battlefield 5. Like, I don't care if there's women in Battlefield 5. I don't think anyone really cares about that shit. It was the way that it was gone about, where it's like, I want to be on the right side of history, so I want to blah, 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 this. And it's like, oh my God, dude. Oh my God. I'll mention this again, and then I'll leave it at this. Justice League, the animated series, I think it came out in 2003, if I remember correctly, and Unlimited came out in 2005, I think. That series had the Black Green Lantern, John Stewart. Now, here's the deal. They thought it would be a good idea to put John Stewart in for diverse reasons. But you know one thing that they didn't do? They didn't virtue signal. They didn't parade around and go like, look at us, and we're doing this to be on the right side of history. They're like, maybe it would be a good idea. And they also wrote him well, to the point where there's plenty of people, including myself, that like John Stewart more than Hal Jordan. Because, especially in the series, they used Wally West instead of Barry Allen. Wally West was essentially Hal Jordan. They're both goofy dickheads. They're just silly. And you see it when Hal Jordan and Barry Allen or Wally West or any of them, when they're all together, any of them, doesn't matter which Flash it is, they have very similar points of view, or very similar like comedic timing, and they're very basic. And so it was good to have somebody totally different. And like Wally West and John Stewart played off each other so well. So well. And so those are examples when that shit wins, man. When even if you do want to do something for diverse reasons, write a good fucking character. Don't virtue signal and be like, look at me, I'm doing this for you. You know, just do it. If it's a good character, people will accept it. They will. Sci-fi, man. Sci-fi fans are a bunch of neckbeard, nerdy fucks. Sci-fi is filled with strong women. They'll accept it. God damn, like, even if they're kind of ugly, man. Like, dude, Katie Sackhoff is not the hottest woman ever. She was in the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, and she played Starbuck. She is not the hottest woman. She's not the. She is. There was infinitely more attractive women in that series. People love Starbuck. They loved her. So I'm just saying, man. A lot of things could have been avoided, but I think the biggest thing, though, what I should probably kind of step back, and I said that was going to be the last point, but I think the bigger point is to actually treat your employees well. Because I think they would have avoided most of this stuff, because even with the plot that's leaked, if it's true, at least they would have had all of that money from people that would have bought the game. Because there's tons of people, if this is true, the plot leak, if it's true, they ain't buying this shit. I mean, I wasn't going to buy it. Like, I would have thought about it, maybe buying it on sale at some point. I'm probably not going to buy it. If the plot that leaked is true, I ain't buying that shit.
Wait a minute. Butt sex.
Butt sex?
Jeff Goldblum has recently come under fire for asking a genuine and respectful question. Now, I briefly talked about this in the Snark Take podcast, but this will be out before it's out for everybody else. You can get the episode early on Mondays for $1 on the patreon.com/snarktank. Shameless plug. But I hadn't listened to the clip. I just heard what happened. But so I finally listened to the clip of what he asked, and I was like, oh my God, that's it?
Is there something in that religion that is anti-homosexuality and anti-woman? Does that complicate the issue? I'm just raising it and thinking out loud and maybe being stupid, but...
No.
It's a complex issue. I have my own misgivings about the way that LGBT people are treated in the Middle East. And at the same time, I am one.
So yeah, you have somebody who clearly has no business being in a hijab. You know, not really. But at the same time, in her defense of people that are like this, and I mean people that have heavy cognitive dissonance, it's pretty normal. You know what I mean? So in defense, like, I don't like it, but it just backing this person up, there's plenty of people that are of many different faiths that do things that completely conflict with the core foundations of their religion. You know, it says in their books that, hey, we're against this, we're against that, we're against a laundry list of things, and people just cherry pick. They cherry pick the things that they like, you know. And then I always say, I'm not a fan of religion, but if it does help you, brings you a sense of community and stuff like that, fair enough, you know. But there's the other parts that I despise. For example, in Islam and most Islamic states in Sharia law, the way that women are second-class citizens and how gays are executed, like, and other people of other faith a lot of times are executed as well. They don't mess around, and it's egregious. So it's weird to see somebody in drag, a trans person, whatever, that would partake in something that actually is a symbol of oppression. This is something that there are women in Iran protesting, risking their lives, because they're like, I don't want to live under subjugation. I don't want to be subservient and have to obey every command and have permission to go out somewhere. If I want to leave the country and go visit my family somewhere else or something, I need permission. I need your blessing. Hell, Saudi Arabia is like, they barely were like, yeah, I guess women are, you can start driving, I guess. What was that, just a couple years ago? Like, that is so ass backwards, man. That is so ass backwards. And so Jeff Goldblum just raises the question, like, hey, man, is this like, I don't know, maybe I'm stupid, like, but is this like conflicting? Can you do this or whatever? And then, you know, her, of course, not, or him, I don't know. I honestly, I didn't even pay attention enough to where if this person is just just drag, or if this person just considers themselves trans. I didn't even pay attention enough to to assess the situation, because I know there's a difference. I know that I think damn near anyone can do drag. I think even straight men can do drag. I think. I could be totally wrong, but I think that like you can be a straight dude and dress up in drag and perform and do. I don't even know what they do on that show, honestly. The RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't know what they do. I know there's a bunch of different reality shows and they're all very similar. I just don't know how you win. I don't know how you compete in that show. Like, I don't know if it's about costumes or whatever. They sing, they dance. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so it's one of those things that you see this all the time. And, you know, as much as I love to poke fun at the right and their religious ideals and how their zealotry, this time it's like the left just have a hard time separating Islam from Arabs, people in the Middle East in general. They just have a hard time. They just see brown skin, protect, and yeah, and you bring it up to them that Islam is egregious. But then they still kind of like dance around the subject and like, but brown, but they're brown and they need to be protected. And I'm like, well, I don't. Okay, you do you. Like, you do you. I know it's a hard thing to juggle. I understand. I'm sure people have cognitive dissonance somewhere. There's some stuff in their life that they're just two conflicting things that they're believing, or that they're participating, or that they're practicing. There's probably something, probably myself. I can't think of anything off the top of my head as I'm rambling, but I'm sure there's something. But as far as like, say, religious ideals or something like that, I don't really have anything like that. I can't, because I'm just non-religious. I don't even call myself atheist, because I just don't believe in shit and I don't think I don't want to be a part of really any discussions like I was, say, maybe a decade ago when I was really heavily involved in a lot of this stuff. And I would listen to a lot of podcasts that were secular podcasts. And, well, I guess the reason I stopped listening to those podcasts is because they started changing and they started more adopting ideals of feminism and stuff like that, instead of, you know, like they ditched religion and then they started like preaching feminist ideals, and it started to become really cringy, because I said, like, I don't care if you want to support women, but don't subscribe to these ideals. I thought that was the whole point, to be rational, think these things through. You know, we're always going to get shit wrong, but it's always about being able to correct ourselves when we mess up. And a lot of times you want to give people the benefit of the doubt and stuff. Because, like, say, in my opinion, since I am non-religious and I can see the good and the bad, I, in my opinion, think the bad outweighs the good. That's my opinion. I'm sure plenty of you disagree. But when I see people that execute gays, like in Islam, or say how people would still do the same thing in the United States, but it's illegal. But obviously in places like Iran, it's like celebrated. They like, yeah, man, there's, dude, Ahmadinejad said that there's like no gays in Iran. That was like a few years ago, and everyone laughed at him. Like, but this is what his faith has driven him to, and so it's a regular okay question to just ask that. And Jeff Goldblum wasn't even coming down hard and being like, why would you wear that? Are you an idiot? Like, yeah, he would deserve some backlash if he was being disrespectful. Even if he was correct. It's about how you come at people. I think that's so important, and a lot of people miss that point. Kind of going back to what I was even saying in one of my previous segments, talking about that Twitch streamer Invader V, who was essentially demanding subs, subscriptions on Twitch, donate to her, demanding donations, essentially saying if you can't afford $5 or whatever, you're poor with your money, you're an idiot, you need to manage your money better. Like, and it's one of those things that you can argue the case that, yeah, people can afford to pay you if they're watching you. Most people can't afford $5 per month. There's ways to go about it. You can take the Jeff Goldblum approach and ask questions, inquire. It maybe even win people over, possibly. Or you can go the Invader V route. That's usually the egregious thing and the thing that you should avoid. And so the fact that people are trying to give Jeff Goldblum shit at all is fucking annoying. But it's not, it's nothing new. Dude, the most infamous situation, the most infamous like moment was when... And just when I think about it, it just makes me laugh like this, is when Ben Affleck was going hard on Sam Harris.
But why are you so hostile about this concept?
It's gross. It's racist.
It's not. But it's so nuts.
It's like saying those stateless shifty Jew.
You're not listening to what we are saying.
You guys, Ben Affleck just roided out of his mind and depressed, probably during his alcoholic state as well, because he's admitted as such. Was just in a bad place and just being so aggressive because, like, just like most people, they couldn't separate Islam from being an Arab or, like, a brown person in the Middle East. They think the same. They think it's synonymous. You know, kind of how you can be a Ashkenazi Jew, you can be heretically Jewish, or you can be of the Jewish faith. There's a difference. I know black Jewish people that, they practice the Jewish faith. You know what I mean? So there's a difference. There isn't like, say, when you say someone's a Muslim, it doesn't really mean that. I guess technically with the Jew thing is kind of a bad example because it still has the same name. This is just different names because there are a ton of Southeast Asian Muslims. Probably even more than Arabs. And so that's why, like, it's important to differentiate and separate the two. And you can criticize the religion, and you're not just criticizing brown people themselves. Because believe you me, a lot of egregious stuff does go down in Southeast Asia. Women get beaten, tortured, and humiliated, and whipped and stuff. And just there's plenty of stuff you can read if you want to read up on that, if you want to ruin your day. I'm just saying that it's really unfortunate to see these situations happen, especially since Jeff Goldblum is such a chill guy. People that do know him, you hear nothing but nice things. The way that he acts in certain roles, he just seems like, man, I need to hang out with him. He reminds me of Bill Murray. Those are like Bill Murray and Jeff Goldblum are two people that I need to hang out with before they pass on, which is, I think they still have many years ahead of them, but still, I'm just like, I got to meet these guys. I would love to meet these guys, just have a quick little conversation, shake their hands. Well, damn, can't even shake their hands now because of COVID, man. But you know what I'm saying. Honestly, I think the only way things can be avoided moving forward in these scenarios is that prominent people like Jeff Goldblum, people like that, need to speak up, and they need to hammer this home. Not just Bill Maher or whatever, because he's like pretty much that one guy that will, you know, just shit on anybody and not care what he, you know, like he always talks about the soft, like snowflake left, where he's clearly a liberal. And he always says like, what? I thought we were liberal. I thought we hated religion. What are we doing here? You know what I mean? So there needs to be other people that just need to say, like, can we open up this dialogue? Because maybe we can actually get people to really understand how bad things are over there for women and gay people. Like, say, when you talk about people that are oppressed, people that are marginalized, how bad it is over there. How there's a lot of people that fear for their lives if they're atheists, if they're gay, if they're, you know, if they're trying to transition, God forbid if they do something like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things that it could be really teachable. The one time where a lot of times where I say, yeah, celebrities, you know, just please be knowledgeable when you speak out. It's one of those things that I would appreciate. I wouldn't say, oh, you're a celebrity, shut your mouth. I would say, this is cool. You're actually, I think you are actually helping. That's pretty dope. I appreciate it. Thank you. Just please don't sing Imagine. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to cut this episode a little bit short. I had another subject that I introduced in the previous podcast called the Lonely Hearts Club, and it was received pretty well. There's people that are actually asking, inquiring. They're like, how do I get my question on the show? And which is really appreciated. And I'm thinking, because I don't know if I want to do it every episode or if I want to just kind of bring it back every once in a while when there's good, like a good curation, which there's a bunch of questions that I actually have lined up. And then there's the other thing that I was thinking of. Maybe I should just, because I was thinking of clipping every segment of that and then putting it on the second channel. But now I'm starting to think that, well, why don't I just make that a series in itself and not really have it a part of the podcast? Because if I'm just going to clip it, just like that, I'm trying to really just figure everything out and get like a genuine schedule going on for things moving forward, because things are starting to ramp up in my head as far as like I need to start thinking like more long term and getting a complete schedule down, and I know exactly what I'm going to do, and it would make things a lot easier and things would be flowing a lot better. So essentially, that's how I'm going to handle things. And next week, I'm going to have I'm just going to answer all the questions and all the things at the end of the episode that I normally do. I just need to get a little bit more organized because I just got over feeling like absolute trash. So I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of ready to just like, all right, let me just sit down and edit this because my foot still hurts a little bit and all that. And I'm also, it's starting to warm up a little bit. So I'm like, actually, I was like, damn, I'm getting pretty fucking hot. But I do want to say thank you guys for listening. I appreciate the people that have been supporting me on Patreon. And here's the deal. If you support me with $2 on Patreon at patreon.com/someblackguy, you can ask me questions at the end of the show, which I will answer in next week's episode for sure. For sure. There's only been a handful of them piling up, so it's not like, say, I'm going to miss any of them that come in. And, yeah, so you can check out any of the perks there. And thank you guys for listening. I'm out of here. I'm sweating my balls off. It's time for me to turn on this damn fan. Take care, y'all.